It's the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Travis and George and Dan. Through the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Take your seat. It's time to begin.
All right, welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast fall break as we take poor George, poor George, hand in hand through the Friday the 13th catalog. How's it going, George?
It's going great.
How's it going, Travis?
I'm loving life.
Well, George, tonight we are talking about Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Yes.
Subtitle, A New Beginning.
Real? Oh.
Now, we did
I
not...
didn't even know how to subtitle.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
They all have.
We didn't tell you the subtitle last time because we didn't want you to know where they were going, but now you've seen it, so now you know where they went. So yeah, it's called a New Beginning.
No, the final chapter I saw on the DVD.
I think there's 2 movies on one disc, probably.
On this one, I didn't see.
Now let me ask you,
It
George,
doesn't matter.
the movie you watched tonight, did it have Crispin Glover in it, or did you watch the right one?
Fuck if I know. Who the fuck is Crispin Glover?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
George McFly
Oh.
doing the Elaine dance.
I don't know. Was that person in this movie?
No. Oh my
I
God.
think he watched 5.
Okay. Did you watch Part 5, George?
Yeah, I definitely watched Part 5.
Was it a new beginning for you? You know, in
I
like
don't
a
know.
grander sense.
Okay, good night.
Sure. I don't know. I took a whole.
Did it feel new? Did it feel like the first time?
All right, so check it out. Can I just read you all my notes?
Oh boy.
No.
We're getting there already.
No, I don't think
I-
nobody.
Oh,
okay, all right,
it's-
make it
it's
brief
gold.
for the sake
we
of
have
our
a curriculum
listeners.
here.
You can cut it all out.
We
and
have notes,
post it.
brother. I showed him your itinerary.
All right, George, I want to hear your thoughts, uncensored, unbridled. Tell me about Part 5 of Friday the 13th.
All right,
And if we don't like it, we'll just shut it down.
all right. Friday
Twitter.
5. This movie's really freaking terrible. Worst acting so far? ? Bunny jump scare. Another cat jump scare? I mean, it's cool that people are getting wrecked and all, but Jason appearing and disappearing in the main character's PTSD is very Mike Myers-ish. 45 minutes in, damn red shirts are dropping like flies. More toilet kills. Exclamation point. The girlfriend from the van, great effect with the jugular still pulsing after the slit throat. Man, more red shirts dying. I'm gonna need to get some of that maw brain stew.
This isn't George from episode 1, I'll tell you that. I love it.
Hey, a lot of people are getting wrecked and almost no hanky panky ? If they do the through the mattress kill right here, and there it is, shaking my damn head. Maybe I'm being picky, but how come people die immediately after being stabbed in the abdomen?
Right, they should bleed out a bit.
Red station wagon. I forget the little kid's name, but I wrote
Dudley? Was it Dudley?
little kid is a real scream queen.
Reggie the Reckless.
Well, he was Dudley on Different Strokes.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
the best friend of the main guy.
Arnold. Yeah.
Obligatory dead body gets thrown through the window.
Every one of them.
Barn door shot is dope. You know what shot I'm talking
Yeah.
about? Jason standing in the barn door with the rain.
Yeah.
Dope. Why doesn't any engine start in these movies? Impaled Jason. Who the fuck's face was that? Obligatory jump scare ending, and Jason continues. I guess Jason is now more of a symbol, like Guy Fawkes, but for serial killers. Or Jason is sort of a demonic possession that jumps to a new host every time its host is killed.
Hey guys, it's Dan. I'm just going to break in here in post and just tell you when this moment happened and I saw a giant Jason Goes to Hell shaped freight train barreling toward George with a big old load of be careful what you wish for loaded on the back. I was dying, man. Of all the things to say and all the things to wish for during a mediocre movie, but the worst part of part 9, dudes, okay. Back to the show and back to George's notes, but just remember this in the part 9 episode.
It's an interesting way to continue to make more movies, but seriously, how far we have strayed from the original, which was so beautiful and pure.
Now,
Wow.
Travis, are you smiling ear to ear like I am right now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
laughed the whole time.
We'll just leave it at that.
Podcast over.
Over. Done.
So I asked you
He's
last
learning,
time,
young
George.
Padawan.
I asked you last time, where do you go from the final chapter? Like, where do we go from here? And this is the way they chose to go. It sounds like you were a big fan. 5 stars, right?
Jesus, no.
In the other direction, it
5
was negative 5
out
stars.
of 100.
Well, listen, it was an interesting and creative and an acceptable way to continue the story. However, we're getting further and further away from the original. I don't know if that's a good thing that we have,
I
8
think
more
he
movies to
likes-
go, or if it might have just been better off with,
Right.
3 movies, 1, 2, and 4.
I think he likes part 10 better, and he hasn't even seen it yet.
So let me ask you this, George. You say it strayed farther from the original. But what if I frame this movie as an American giallo, whodunit thriller with graphic over-the-top kills and a relatively out-of-nowhere final twist killer? Did I just describe the first one or the 5th one?
Mm. Ooh, I like that. Burn.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's not even in the notes.
That's you're making me angry now.
They did the thing.
Yeah. Hey, listen, they did that. There's some big differences. The the person who done it in the 5th was much, much less significant than the person who done it in the 1st.
Okay. Just not as connected.
That's a
like
big
nowhere
difference.
near as connected. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and also the fact that 1 had already been done, now 5 it's regurgitated. But not in a respectful way, just in a regurgitated way. But
Right.
I guess that's my opinion. That's not really fact.
Do you think that a better director could have executed this script and this idea in a way that would have met or exceeded your expectations for part 4?
A better all right, what
So what I'm asking
part 4
is-
come into this?
You liked part 4, from what I recall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could you have made a proper sequel deserving of its place following part 4, using all the pieces they had at their disposal, but just better takes, better acting, better direction? Can you take Roy the ambulance driver whodunit murder guy and follow part 4 in a successful way, or do you think from the jump they are already failing because it's such a thin answer as to who's done it?
I think that the thin answer as to who done it is a problem in this movie.
You want to know my take?
Not really.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The answer is yes.
Could another
Absolutely.
director have done it?
I wrote a better movie while watching it.
No, I agree that a better
Yeah.
director could have done it, but with that script though,
No, I mean, like,
the script would have to be
part of the
different.
director's job is to, take out what's not working and fix it, and or negotiate with the writer and say, do I have carte blanche to change this or fix this or whatever?
Well,
Yeah.
then yeah, I guess I agree then.
Now,
Yeah.
this might surprise you, George, but the man who made this movie made 4 movies in his career.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very disappointed in him now.
No, he
Whoever he
made
is.
an X-rated movie called High Rise, which is a wonderful name for an X-rated movie. And then he made 3 horror movies: The Unseen, Savage Streets, which is kind of like
That's like gang.
gang Last House on the
overtake.
Left gang movie.
Yeah.
It's gross. Not great. And then this wonderful film, which is actually like the crowning achievement of his career. And then nobody ever wanted him again, which is sad.
Well, that's interesting. I did not know that.
But yeah, if you had Steve Miner doing this, I think this movie's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I felt they wasted a huge opportunity to, like you said, build off of part 4. It's basically a time jump, which is not necessary. They could have easily had Tommy go into not a halfway house, but more of an insane asylum type situation where, you know, they have group talks and you start really digging into his psyche and figuring out why he has, you know, how deep is his PTSD? How is it affecting him? Why is he having these visions? All these different things that they could have completely done.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a real sequel, not a, oh, we can't get this actor to do the movie, so we're going to do a big time jump and then not even give a shit about this mantle that was supposed to be handed down.
Yeah.
That they set up.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, what's his name, Tommy?
Yes.
The kid? I think they could have just jumped right to Tommy being the next Jason.
Well, yeah.
They really could have.
But they could have done it in a way. They could have done it in a way where even if they wanted to do the ambulance driver, I personally would have given him a better backstory. We can talk about that later. But if you do the insane asylum situation where it's like, you know, Cuckoo's Nest kind of thing where you're digging into their backgrounds, you're digging into their psyche, and you're seeing these people are not stable. You know, especially if they're off their meds or if they're on the correct meds or not on the correct meds, you know, establish that. And then maybe have this guy not an ambulance driver, but, you know, an orderly in the hospital. So he's hearing the stories, Tommy's story, all this stuff about Jason, and he's almost absorbing the information, and then his son is slaughtered in front of him. Then you give it more depth why he's doing what he's doing. And in the whole movie you're thinking it's Tommy. You could do him waking up in the middle of the night not knowing where he is, so he's having these blackouts.
Yep.
Completely taking the viewer on a roller coaster ride, not knowing who the killer is.
Yeah, there's lots of ways.
There's so many ways
There's lots of ways that would have been better than this, but yeah.
I mean, to watch your son get hacked up in front of you would totally screw you up.
I mean, I guess.
But
if
to
you
have
had
him be the ambulance driver that picks up the dead body, that doesn't show his gradual or his, you know, why he went
and
off
also
the deep end.
And also the whole hole in the backstory about how, like, he was, you know, that was his son, but he never told anybody, and what the F was up with that? Like,
right. Well, they're just trying to, you know, sway you away from things, probably.
He's so upset that his son was killed, but he didn't really care enough about his son to, like, tell anybody that he had a son.
I think
his son
that's what
thinks he's an orphan.
What my good buddy Aaron refers to as a backronym, where it's like you go back and just kind of piecemeal an explanation for the thing you're already stuck with.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, hey, and here's a backstory.
Yeah, half-assed.
Now, George, during this movie, how much of the time, George, during this movie, did you think that Tommy Jarvis was straight murdering mofos? Did you ever fall for it?
I didn't.
Never once.
I kind of thought it, but, like,
I wish we could go back and
maybe
do, like,
they're going with us.
you know, the focus group thing where you have, like, the little wheel and you, like, turn it right or left depending on if you like or don't like what you're seeing, so they can track while you're watching a commercial or a movie. I'd like to see the Tommy's doing it, it's somebody else. Tommy's doing it, it's somebody else. From George's reading as a first-time viewer, just to know, take his temperature a little bit through the movie and just see if it's working, because it has never worked for me, but I saw this when I was so young, I don't know if I would have caught it the first time. And by the second time you watch it, you know who it is, and it's not a mystery anymore.
Well, sadly, I think you're almost hoping for it, because the cliffhanger for part 4 is, it's like, okay, he shaved his head, he's clearly got issues, he's absorbing maybe not the soul of Jason, where he's going to, like, basically become Jason, but he definitely has, like you said, PTSD to lead him down that road.
Let's just say that if Jason is like I described him in my notes, like, you know, a type of possession that takes over a new host whenever the current host gets wrecked, right?
Hey guys, it's Dan again. Can you believe it? I mean, this guy's going to love Jason Goes to Hell so much, right? He's never going to find flaw. Anyway, back to the show. Don't forget the Part 9 episode coming up later.
Then Tommy, as a child, is primed to be the next host of the Jason demon or whatever.
Yeah, and it really doesn't even go that deep because they never even touch on a possession situation. If they even went that route, then I would understand that. But you don't even have to think that far into it. It's just basically the traumatic experience that this child had that night watching his mother die. And it's just,
it could be.
It doesn't even have to be a possession thing. It doesn't even have
to be any kind of supernatural
right.
anything. Or like I said, that's why I also described it as like, you know, the hockey mask is the Guy Fawkes mask
right.
of serial killers of this time and area.
Right.
You know, it could just be that. Doesn't have to be supernatural or whatever.
Right.
How far into the movie did you catch on to the fact that there were different colored chevrons or marks on the hockey mask? Like, as a first-time viewer, are you noticing right away, oh, that's blue, that should be red. Oh, that one's red, that one, okay, now we've got two different active hockey masks.
I noticed that the hockey mask was blue. When exactly was it? I guess when the real chase started at the end. When you start to see a lot of Jason, I noticed there's blue on the mask.
Right.
And I thought
the arrows are facing in the opposite direction too.
Yeah, I knew there was something off about the mask, but then I also saw that on the mask there was a big chunk out of the top of it, like where he got axed in part 3, I think. So that was me. I just thought maybe, I don't know, I guess, you know, they changed the way the mask looked for this movie,
right.
but it's still got that, you know, that big chunk out of the, you know, the top corner, so it must be Jason's mask.
Yeah, I was trying to think, what did they do that? Did they make it obvious on purpose or not? Like, again, when I watched it when I was younger, you notice right away that there's, through marketing and everything, that the mask is different. But then you think, okay, he's seeing the real Jason, air quotes, in his dreams, and that looks like the Jason from part 4. And then this new Jason,
and that mask is correct.
That mask is correct. And then I'm thinking, I don't know if there's a hatchet mark in the blue mask. I'll have to check that out.
I thought there was. Because when I saw the blue, I thought,
right,
that doesn't look right.
But I'm not really sure if Roy would know to do that. So it's like, I'm going to check that out.
We got to go back. That's another plot hole. If it's got a chunk out of it, then...
But I think that they were kind of establishing with the different masks that maybe this is Tommy, and he's he's basically having these blackouts and he's pretending to be Jason. So I don't. Do
you want to pause right now and just go back, because I got it up. Let's go look at the scene with the blue mask.
He's got it up. Hey now.
I'm disappointed that the box set cover doesn't include the old weird digital mask that the VHS box had. They've got two different covers, and they don't. Neither one of them's the dumb-looking digital mask I love.
Right.
So, George, one thing I wanted you to notice was during the opening credits, they actually put you into the eye hole of the mask. Did you notice that? And it's a blue one. So you get a blue mask in the face, it flips around, and you enter the eye hole. You're going into Jason, man. And your name is Tommy or Jason. Roy, depending on how things go.
Yeah, I didn't take notice to what color the mask was.
The more I talk about it, the more angry I get that this could have been one of the better movies if they had just taken the time to set up the stuff we're talking about.
But my concern is if they in the first go just walk right in and say, okay, we ended with Tommy looking scary, so now you know he's the killer, and you spend 90 minutes of them, who's the killer? And everybody's just like, well, it's Tommy. And they're like, who's the killer? And everybody's like, well, it's fucking Tommy. You showed us Tommy earlier. It's Tommy. And then at the end, it's like, it was Tommy the whole time. Surprise. People would be like, no,
it's not a surprise.
This is a failure. So in a way, their twist works because it's not Tommy, but then, ooh, big swerve at the end. Maybe it is going to be Tommy after all. There's nothing missing from this mask. It's intact. It's brand new.
Damn.
But there is a chunk missing from the red mask that you see in the fantasies.
And the dreams stuff. But we're looking at it. There's no hack in the mask that's blue. So that was another big
But that's interesting
change.
that you like Mandela'd yourself into having a chunk out of the blue mask. You know, you mixed it. That's interesting. First time
he did
watch,
mix it,
man.
because
It's
every
fun.
time they show the red one, it has the hatchet.
Hold on a second.
But every time they show the blue,
second.
it's not there.
It's not there.
I do have to say, I do like the Roy Jason though. I like the body build. I like the mask. I like it. It doesn't bother me.
You know what, George?
What?
I like this movie. I mean, it sucks. The first half hour is kind of hard to get through. But the last half hour is a good Jason movie with some twists that may or may not get off the ground. I think a better director, if you give me 90 minutes of the last 30 minutes of this movie, I think it's a good movie.
I'm telling you, if you do the Alien 3 type mentality with this, and you really dig into the red shirts that you're talking about, and this takes place in a hospital setting, not like Halloween, but like
a mental health
situation where these guys are they think they're having hallucinations and all this stuff, like this is happening to them.
And you don't know what's hallucination and what's not.
I think that would have been amazing. Almost like a Mysterio, scarecrow kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it would have been, but I don't think back in this time period they were thinking that. They were just thinking money grab, another Jason movie. They didn't really care.
You know, Dan, maybe the first 45
45
minutes or the first hour were so bad that I didn't give the last half hour a chance.
Because I think this time watching it, for me, I knew it was going to suck, and my notes reflect the fact that I wasn't having any fun. But then, having forgotten how good the last 30 minutes are, I was like pleasantly surprised to be back with an old friend who actually delivers all the things I wanted from a movie. It's a very strange. It's like the opposite of Part 3, where it's about, in many ways it's the same as my Part 3 experience, but it actually pays off at the end. Where Part 3 for me, I think I'm going to like it, I hate it at the beginning, and then it gets a little better, and then it never gets to where I want it to be.
Right.
This one at least pays off at the end.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One thing they did, though, they copied my favorite kill scene from Part 3. I don't even know if we brought it up while we were all just pissing on how terrible Part 3 is. There's one shot where Jason retrieves a weapon from a body. And you don't see the cut from when the body is a person to where the body is a fake body. So you get this kind of unexpectedly graphic retrieval of the blade from the dead body. Heck of a shot in Part 3. Probably on par with the holding back of Rick, where you're just like, oh God, he's on the porch and he's scared, Other than that, that's probably my favorite shot in Part 3 is the retrieval of the blade. They do it here. It's not as effective, but it's still pretty gross. Like, you don't expect to see the full blade extend out of a body, and there it is.
Good stuff.
So
I do remember seeing that in this movie. It was nasty. I liked it.
The kills are pretty nasty in this. The knockoff versions of the early stuff aren't good. The bacon kill that you already had in your notes is just like, oh God, they're going to. Oh God, they did. Total letdown. But the window toss, I mean, it succeeds in that a body goes through a window. It's not creative.
That's one of the things that I think I might be okay with. Let's just get rid of that. We don't need that in every movie, do we?
What, the body through a window?
Yeah, we don't need that.
Worked great in the first one. I don't know if we ever needed it again, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Why was that a thing that just continued through every movie? I don't think we really need it.
One of my favorite moments in this movie, there's a part where Jason, you see only his hand with like a meat cleaver or a hatchet coming at the camera. Traditional like whack at the viewer's perspective.
Right.
But he puts no enthusiasm into it. So it's just like,
It's a meh kill.
The internal dialogue is just, oh, hey, there's a person here. I guess I'll,
Guess I have to kill this person, huh?
Yeah, not my favorite kill. Could have used to take two, Mr. Steinman. Rest in peace.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. So, was there a moment for you, George, early in the picture when you realized, oh, geez, it's a Part 3 again? Was there like a specific introduction of a character? Was there a specific plot thread where you were just like, oh no, this is a bad one?
Maybe it was the Like the hillbilly mom and son.
No, that definitely.
Those,
Yep. Nope. That's the moment. You nailed it.
So offensive.
Yeah.
It's so offensive. And you think that they're not going to do that because the killing of the kid, the hacking of the kid, Roy's son, comes like out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he's chopping wood, and then
Oh yeah. Okay.
with an axe, and you're like, he just starts hacking into this kid, and you're like, that's so not what to expect, because you're thinking all the other things are so rip off of 3 and 4. That's something that hasn't happened yet, where a person killed another person out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, and for you
I
to
was
be
just
like, whoa, guys, only the Voorheeses do the killing in these movies.
Exactly. That threw me a little bit.
And it's a good kill. I mean, it's abrupt. It comes out of nowhere. It's super gross. And then for it to follow.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it, Mama. But it does.
It's the baby
so-
Ninja Turtle.
the whole movie suffers from that campiness and like you keep calling them the red shirts, and that's exactly what it feels like. Like whenever I explain to people about, when they whine about there's too much character development in this movie and they're talking too much, let's get to the monsters, let's get to the zombies, and I'm like, yeah, but when you know more about these people and you care about them, the kills hurt so much more.
I'm totally on board with you.
So when you take a Jason movie, and I always use that as an example, I'm like, this is, The Walking Dead. It's not a Friday 13th, because no matter who dies on The Walking Dead, you care, because they spend time developing these characters. Now, yeah, you do have red shirts on there.
Yeah.
But I'm talking main characters. Even if B, C characters are killed, you kind of care, because you're like, oh, they were developing this, or they were going here, or they were doing this, and now that's all gone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. We're not really discussing Walking
Right.
Dead.
But with a Jason movie, the main character could die, and you don't care.
I don't
Like,
even
it's
know
just
the
like-
name, the main
Exactly.
character's name.
Well, that's what I was
You
going
care
to say.
about Jason.
Besides Tommy and Demon, because that's a cool name, Reggie the Reckless, Gramps.
Michael Jackson.
I guess
Where's Michael
Gramps
Jackson?
is a character. And then Pam. I know Pam because
Pam.
that's a recycled name from Pam Voorhees. But, like,
Right.
other than those characters, I couldn't name a character in this movie.
Right.
And I mean, okay, so Billy. I can name Billy and Lana because they say each other's names like 100 times. It's like a job interview. They want us to remember Billy and Lana, or Lana, whatever she calls it. See, clearly it didn't hit home. But you remember Billy is the guy that does the coke and is such a skis bag.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I remember, he's only in one other scene. So take me back, George. Billy pulls up in his car.
But the point I wanted to make about The Walking Dead was they're almost predictable in the other way. Like,
Yes.
when they start developing a character, you're like, oh, well, this guy's
Someone's
fucking
gone,
dead
yeah.
soon.
But it still makes you care.
Yeah.
It's a red flag.
So the thing,
yeah.
the reason why, and this is not a Walking Dead podcast, but I'm going to continue talking about it. The reason why the first a couple of seasons of The Walking Dead were so good was because they developed everyone so well,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those people died abruptly,
Mm-hmm.
and and it had you
And
guessing.
you thought, wait, there was still more story there.
Right,
Wait,
and you
You
were
didn't even talk to that person for 2 days.
yep.
Yeah.
And you
I hear
mourned their death, and you mourned the rest of the story that never got to get told.
Right.
With some people.
And again, I agree with that completely. And that's why the reason why I always bring up Friday 13th for those kind of discussions, because I'd rather have it the other way. I enjoy Jason movies, but basically I like to see the kills. I want to see how creative they are and how cool Jason is. But,
I agree.
I want to care about the characters.
I want to care about the people dying. I agree. I think that Walking Dead did it fantastically in like the first 3, maybe 4 seasons. It was fantastic.
Well, yeah, and then the world got bigger. Basically.
Yeah, and then but this, part 3 and part 5, it's kind of like Walking Dead for people with ADD that
Right.
don't want they want the payoff now.
It's-
like,
Right.
all right, develop these characters, but kill some people in the process because we don't
Well,
want it
that's
to
what
be
they
boring.
that's what they paid for.
So it's
Exactly.
the tick-tocking dead.
Yep.
Yes.
It's the TikToking Dead. Perfect.
So Billy pulls up to the diner. We haven't seen Billy since his opening scene where all he basically says is, "Hey, Tommy, get out of the car. We're here."
Okay.
And then Jason kills him with an axe to the head, which is graphic and cool, whatever. It's quick cut. But who the hell was Billy? Like, until today when I finally realized, oh, that's the guy that gets killed later. There's not enough character development to connect him to the other characters. There's not enough story to explain why Jason would go so far out of Crystal Lake / Pinehurst to kill a guy. And it's one of those major problems with this, like, who done it, because there's also a serious case of why bother done it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
So then the greasers show up. Like, all of a sudden, Fonzie and Fonzie B are out in the... What are those two doing out in the woods? And how far from wherever it is those guys come from are they when they're in the backwoods of New Jersey? Are they like... I mean, what? Greasers. Why
was
are there
Jason
greasers?
buried in the woods?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about at the very beginning?
Yeah.
With that tombstone made out of wood? Like, is this tombstone?
It's
is this
weird.
like the OK Corral? Yeah, and it's like sketched on, his name is written
I don't
with
think
crayon.
I don't think that's the part that Dan was talking about.
No, he's talking about the later in the movie.
But that's what came to my mind when he was
Yeah.
talking, so I said it.
But, you know, you get these two guys in leather jackets, like, "Hey, what's up, dude? Crap my ass." That's my favorite line in the movie.
Crap my ass! Just do it, man!
Crap my ass. There's a comma, I think, that was supposed to be read.
Yeah.
Crap, question mark, my ass, which is still not great. That's not a great
Right.
line. It's kind of funny.
It's not Shakespeare.
It's still...
Again,
it's the
no
second...
engine starts in this movie.
It's the second best phrase with the word ass in it in this series, but we have to wait for part 7 for that one. Oh, I love that line too. Great reads, guys. Big thumbs up from the note. The Paramount
they don't have
notes
the
were
3D
just like,
excuse.
oh, geez, Louise.
They don't have that 3D excuse you were explaining where, oh, it's already in the can.
Crap,
We can't.
crap my ass.
Crap my ass. What's my motivation?
So why is Jason so mobile? Why is he hitting this random ambulance guy in an unnamed city and then hitting city folk in the woods that have nothing to do with the story except for to add kills? Like,
Yeah, he has no focus. He's random.
I think
Jeez.
Danny Steinman had very little focus.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, that was part of my notes, and actually kind of a serious part, because I said, well, the way I phrased it was almost no hanky-panky. Like,
Well, we don't
this
know
is
what those two were doing in the woods, so
right,
they
but
just
what
didn't film it.
I'm saying is this pattern of killing doesn't seem like Jason.
Right. Right.
Because it was more random
Well,
than Jason.
in the end, it does, because he's more of a revenge killer and not revenge for, because the counselors were banging when he was drowning.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, that's an obvious thing where you don't think about until after you notice it was a copycat killer. But yeah, like I wrote my notes. This movie has zero vision. There's just there's no end game. There's no middle ground. There's like nothing. Like they just were like, okay, we have the money. Let's make another one because it's going to make money, and let's not play off of anything that we established.
And that's when cinema gets poor.
It gets very bad.
Yeah.
I like this movie.
Dan, you're overruled.
No, I did say to Dan, I like it too, because of what they were trying to do.
He waited
But
until I said I liked it because he didn't want to
Yeah.
embarrass himself.
My issue is the movie in my head as I'm watching it was so much better. Like
Yeah.
why didn't you do this? Why didn't you try this? You wanted to do this, but you never tried this. Like all that stuff would have made it a way better movie.
You know what I think would have made this a way better movie? If they just would have taken that little extra step and made it a true Friday the 13th, Part 5, crossed over with Pete's Dragon. Because the moment you introduce the Shelley Winters look-alike lady and her country bumpkin jr., I mean, you're on the cusp. If you can just get... you get your child Tommy... You keep it. You cancel Goonies because you don't need Goonies anymore once you have Pete's Dragon the 13th. And you've got a winning combination of throwing country bumpkins in the mud and cutting dudes' heads off. And you get a dragon in there, too. I mean, that's what you need, is dragon versus Jason. That'll fix it all.
Isn't that part 10?
It does need to be a musical, though. We never did.
Hey, that would be an improvement.
We still don't have musical Jason. I mean, he doesn't talk a lot,
Jason.
so his parts are going to be kind of beatboxy. But
Well, he would be an interpretive dancer.
ooh,
All right, we need to fix that. There
Let's
needs to
do
be
this.
a musical Jason now.
I'll do that right after we make reshoot some of those Clerk scenes.
So in like
Yeah,
2050?
2050. Well,
Okay.
once COVID's over.
So like 2050?
Yeah.
oh,
Ah, that's funny. So, George,
Travis.
which Jason did you like better? The Dream Jason or the Roy Jason? Visually.
Dream
and
Jason.
You like the Dream Jason.
Oh, yeah.
I came around. I kind of like the Roy Jason.
I didn't like the Roy Jason, but I like the Tommy Jason.
Tommy Jason looks cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he has... I don't like the lumbering large Jason. I like the, like we said with Myers, the sleeker. The Roy Jason looks more like what Jason should look like. Although the Dream Jason looks like part 4, so, you know, again, nostalgia feels. I like him as well. But I didn't hate the Roy Jason. A lot of people do. I guess because of the non-payoff at the end. But
Yeah.
what about you, Dan?
I'm over here rewriting the songs from Pete's Dragon to be a Jason thing. Because I, in the end, all Jasons are good Jasons. I'm fine with all of them.
Right.
I'm excited for Tommy Jason at this point. Can't wait to get that going. But while we wait, I would like to propose, instead of I'll be your candle on the water, I'm your machete on the water. I think that's where I'm going with that one. And, of course, Bill of Sale, the best song in the movie. Underrated Bill of Sale. We got a bill of sale right here. That's probably as far as I can take it without getting sued, because my vocal chops are, right up there with, actually, I mean, if you've seen the movie, they're not too far off. Boom, take that, Shelley Winters. Rest in peace.
Ooh. Wow.
Hey-o.
Still trying to figure out where we're going to get Bill of Sale into a Jason. Come back to me. I'm working on it. All Jasons are good Jasons.
All Jasons are good Jasons. I like it. So I kind of touched on the backstory would have made this completely a better movie. I just don't understand why they wasted that. It's like it's so bad that he's your killer. You've established this is the guy that's going to be the killer. He's going to be a copycat killer. I hear Dan laughing, so he must have came up with a good lyric. And then they just never bother to develop him at all. And I'm just like, they totally could have. You've never seen Cuckoo's Nest,
the next
have you?
Jason's going to be a better Jason because the man behind the mask has a story.
Going back to our discussion of Friday Part 1, we talked about, it would have been great if we would have met Pam. This is our actual, this was us thinking we were smart. If we would have met Pam Voorhees in one scene earlier in the movie, just long enough to establish her as a character in the movie, then it wouldn't have felt like a cheat at the end. And this movie did that, and it didn't
I thought that too.
fucking matter.
I thought that too.
There's a reason why it didn't matter. Because Pamela Voorhees was not wearing a mask when her reveal happened.
Neither was Roy.
Right, but it pays off. It's different because the reveal is different. Like, Pamela Voorhees showing up out of nowhere, never established, automatically makes her suspicious. So my point in saying that she should have been shown earlier, kind of like the ambulance driver, was to take the suspicion away a little bit. Or maybe they should have had her help a little bit and then lock a door, and then you realize, oh shit, she's not who you think she is. Instead of just I'm Mrs. Voorhees, and it was just so lazy that I thought to myself, it would have been better. I wouldn't have suspected her right away if she was an established character earlier. With Roy, He's laying there. That mask pops off his face when he lands on the spikes, and you're still looking at his face. You don't know exactly where you know that face from.
Mm-hmm.
So the reveal is okay there because they didn't have him show up and say, "Hi, I'm here to help you." So it was almost like that didn't matter that he was established earlier. It didn't.
Okay, so I thought this when I was watching the movie when the reveal happened. Actually, I mean, I rewinded it. I still didn't know, or rewound it. I still didn't know who that was
Who that
on the
face was,
spikes.
right.
I watched it 3 times. And I don't recognize this
Mhm.
guy until I continued watching and the sheriff explained who it was.
Which
Thank you for that, because I wouldn't have known otherwise.
Right. They had to mansplain it because they just didn't.
They had to mansplain it
Yeah.
because it's the only way anyone would know who was behind the mask.
Exactly.
And so, in that sense, introducing the person for a little bit, here and there, before revealing them, didn't matter in the least to me. And also, let's get back to 1 with Pam. Hindsight is 2020. That is the best Jason movie ever made.
Is it the best?
Whatever your hindsight is, it's 2020.
Right.
It's not fair. That is the best Jason movie so far.
Number 1.
Even with its flaws, however you would fix it or make it better, doesn't matter. It's still the best one so far.
And it's not even Jason.
See, and that's the thing. I consider it an accidental prequel. Like, when I break down these movies, Part 1 stands alone as an incidental prequel. 2 through 4 are your Jason trilogy. And then 4, 5, and upcoming number 6 are your Tommy Jarvis trilogy. So are you ready, George, for the Tommy Jarvis trilogy?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
One of those ones where it could have been 2. They could have just skipped 5. But I like 5. It's fun.
I personally put 5 in the category of. George hasn't seen the full trilogy and/or saga yet, but
I'll take my cans off.
no, it's fine. Halloween 3.
Oh, I can still hear you.
It puts it in the category Halloween 3. Like, they tried something different.
Don't do Halloween 3 like that, Travis. I mean, I
No,
see
I'm
where
saying
you're going with it, but don't do. You know what it is? It's a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. That's what Part 5 is.
I like Part 2.
I like Part 5, but Nightmare on Elm
Right.
Street Part 2 is bonkers.
I need a noise to make while you guys are talking about shit I haven't seen.
Okay.
Do, 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 do,
Why don't you hum our theme
do,
song?
do.
I don't have the ring. Yeah, I mean, again, I won't fault them for trying something new. They realize they're 5 movies in, and they just try something new.
They gave it a go.
It's going to work or it's not.
Why they put this? Why you put this movie, this flagship franchise? I mean, okay, flagship for Paramount, but this money-making popular franchise. Why you would try to save money with a director this bad? That part I don't understand. Like, you don't need to get Steven Spielberg. I mean, that'd be great, but you don't have to.
A Spielberg Jason movie, I'm so in for that. Definitely.
I really want. I mean, someday I'll tell you my idea for a Friday movie, but we're gonna have to get it copyrighted first. So I gotta write it down. I gotta mail it to myself. We can talk about it in about 6 weeks when the Postal Service gets it back to me.
Right.
Thanks, guys, over there. A few in particular.
It's going downhill either way.
Hey, so guys, can we talk about Reggie the Reckless a little more? Not just his remarkably well auditioned scream. I mean, he was going to Kristen Baker and was just like, "Hey, you did great in Part 2, and the only reason you got this role was your scream. Can you teach me how to scream the same way?" And she's like, "Sure, Reggie the Reckless." That's how that went down. I have sources. They confirmed it.
I believe it.
Here's the thing I didn't like watching it today. So much of the dialogue to and surrounding Reggie is poorly written at best and gross at worst. And are we sure that's his grandpa? I really wasn't feeling any of the stuff with him. Like,
George is like, they lost me, so I didn't even see a grandpa.
No, I saw a grandpa. He came flying through the window and his eyes sewn shut or something. I don't know.
And why is Demon? I mean, I love Demon. Don't get me wrong. Why is Pam allowing Demon and allowing Demon's girlfriend to smoke weed in the 1980s in front of a child?
Was that weed?
That was weed, man.
Are you sure?
That was Colombian gold, man. I mean, it's pretty clearly a rolled up something. And it's just like, wow.
I don't know. No, I think that when he was there, she was smoking a cigarette. And I think that after he left, then they
I mean, you could tell because it had a blue filter and a little chip out of the top. So,
Like the mask.
All right, we'll just rewind it then.
all right, hold on. Let me cue it up.
But you got to do it in a John Madden voice. And then here, boom. You got to circle things and talk about
The
it.
tight
Yeah.
end's always more
gotta-
dangerous in the red zone. I know.
We got to
that. I
add
know,
John Madden on this
Yeah.
one.
Here's a passing a flat to Reggie the Reckless. Oh, boom,
Boom.
boom. Yeah, the more I'm watching this, I love that mask. I love the Roy Jason.
I really like the end of the movie. Like, that whole chase is really good. Pam is a pretty good final girl / mother figure. Like, it's a weird mix of our Jason dynamics. They don't get it all straight.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the belt across the eyes kill. It's good stuff.
You know, if I were Demon, I would want a little bit more privacy in the John. His girlfriend is like really up in his business.
Yeah.
She's looking for the John Madden play-by-play is what she's doing.
She's a Class 9 clinger.
All right, here we go. Hold on.
Those damn enchiladas. I mean, you can't write dialogue that good. That had to be improv.
What's up, Pam?
All right, so in that scene,
so good.
in that little part, the girlfriend only takes one drag,
Yeah.
and it is rolled up.
It's
something
a darker
it's something
color.
rolled up.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
definitely brown
she
paper.
didn't smoke it like.
She didn't hold that shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess jury's out on that one.
Gonna have to wait for the UHD 4K release of Friday the 13th Part 5.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna get one of those for a long time.
I kept saying to myself, and I'm saying it again looking at Tommy's face, I think this movie does suffer a lot not having Corey Feldman in it. Because there's just no connection to this Tommy. There would be more of a connection if it was Corey. Do you
Corey's
really
the kid version, right?
Yeah, do you really need him to be that old to pull off the Tommy Jarvis character? I
Yeah.
don't think so.
To take over Jason, yeah, he's got to be at least.
Well, that
an
could be
adult.
something of later on. I mean, they hint on that in a few movies where a character takes over a persona, and they're not always adult.
He could be. It could be Corey Feldman, and have some copycat killer running around, in the movie. But if he's still a kid, then you don't have that takeover of the mask at the end.
You could have that. What you don't have is Tommy doing any of this killing. That's what you wouldn't have.
That's true. Yeah,
Which really isn't really there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You could still have Feldman wearing that mask at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
when
he
Pam
could be.
goes in.
You're right. Yep, you're right.
It's just there's no connection to this Tommy,
I agree.
and he's not that good.
But the last half hour is pretty good. The little chase.
Not
Really,
as-
it's just the chase at the end. The chase is good. The rest of the movie is meh. But the chase.
It's recycled. It happens in a barn again.
Yeah, there's a
True.
lot of barns out there near Crystal Lake.
I don't know.
The
I'm done talking about
falling
this
on the
movie.
spikes was cool, though. That was a good
That was
spikes
cool.
effect.
That was cool.
You enjoyed the Shyamalan reveal moment at the end. But like you said, you were like, still didn't know who it was.
Rewound it 3 times. No.
So, George.
Yeah.
You've seen 5 Friday the 13th. Do you want to rank them real quick?
He hates us for it.
Yeah. 1, 2, 4 in that order.
And then the other 2 just don't even get ranked? I mean, you
this
got to
better
fight it
than
out.
3?
Is 5 better than 3? Or is 3 better than 5? I'll
Okay.
remind you.
3 is better than 5.
What about that van scene at the beginning? Didn't that make you just want to jump out of the van? Maybe that was just me. That's what happens when you're pregnant,
Okay, hold on. I don't like either. Let's preface with I don't like 3 and I don't like 5. However, 3
is more iconic.
3
than 5.
introduced the mask.
Right.
Which is why I ranked it over this one, and the only reason. It's not like the acting was better or the directing was better or the
Girls
effects
were
were
hotter.
better.
Girls were hotter in 3 than 5.
Whatever.
Well, it's kind of a necessity in the Friday the 13th
There were no
movie.
guitars in this movie,
There were no
Travis. Who
guitars.
cares about girls? There's no guitars.
And skateboarders.
Yeah. So
Do they get credit carded? Then I don't care.
yeah, I don't like either.
I have terrible news, guys. I don't think that Bill of Sale is going to work in a Friday the 13th context unless you do it in a flashback and they're arguing over the rights to Crystal Lake. If you do that, then it's Bay of Blood. But also, I think the song works a little bit better.
Yeah, you're a fan of the disco Jason. Ding, 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 ding. It's like a porn, Jason porn. There you go, write that.
I mean, any Jason's a porn if you're brave enough, right?
That's true. That's true.
All right, so guys,
Yeah, has anyone tried to seduce Jason yet? Why not? Might work. Might save your life.
Only tried to pretend to be his mother. No one tried to hook up with him yet.
the day is still young, guys. The day is still young.
I think Freddie does. But
So I am going to send you guys a little on-air musical entertainment. I'll have to probably cut bits of this out so we don't get a copyright claim. But let me ask you up front. Have either of you watched the FX show The League about fantasy football from
The
10
League?
years ago-ish?
No.
I might have seen one episode.
Oh my God, it's a really good show. You should watch it. Anyway, there's a guy on that show. His character name is Taco. That's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Taco, like the delicious treat you get from a street vendor, or if you're, inebriated, a Taco Bell.
Yeah, we actually have a friend named Taco.
Well, and the
Mm.
Chiefs now have a player named Taco. Shout out to Taco Charlton. I'm going to @ you in this episode post. So, guys, here is a thing I'm sending to your messenger here. This is written by Jean Lajoie. I think I'm saying that right. Who played Taco on The League. And he's a musician, and he writes really good, catchy songs and does fun little videos. And I want you guys to watch this video right now. It's called Wolfie's Just Fine, A New Beginning. And you can find it on YouTube. I love that song, man. I love that video. The reshoots are, as you said, precise. They nail even some of the smaller, minute details from the original movie. Even some mistakes from the original movie, they mirror perfectly in the reshoot. The gore actually looks a little better in the reshoot because of, technology and no MPAA on YouTube. So that's pretty fun. I'll tell you, though, you guys laughed, and it's funny. But, my own experience with these movies is so similar to his
Right.
that, it feels like almost too real, some of that. Where it's just like,
Well,
damn,
that's
that was my childhood.
Yeah, that's the hard part about this with George is
I
he's
was
watching
laughing.
it as an older person.
I was laughing because I never had that experience.
Right.
At first, though.
But somehow
then
you still end up
once
on
he's-
this podcast. So I guess it all worked out.
Right. But once Travis said, wow, this kid's good, I was thinking the same thing. Wow.
Yeah, he's very good. I don't know who he is, but he's going to be famous. But yeah, we both have that childhood connection to horror movies, so they affect us in different. Like I always say, people will judge me when they're like, "Oh, you have monster models and you have masks all over your house," and doesn't it affect your children? I'm like, this stuff's not real.
Yeah, but it does affect them, but it's fine.
But if you grow up around it. If you grow up around it, they're not affected by it.
No, I'm not saying
but
you're doing anything wrong with your children. I'm just saying it's a thing. That people have things in
Right.
their house. That's your thing.
It's just stuff.
Like-
But it's like
my daughter grows up around guitars and amplifiers
Yeah.
and skateboards.
evil is
What are you
that?
doing to her? It's like it's what I do.
But yeah, I mean, if they grow up around it, you're hoping it doesn't affect them. Like Dan's saying, that's how he was basically introduced to horror movies, which I was too. But I had people around me, friends that were also involved in watching them, so I never was scared and or It didn't affect me the way, like, to run to my bed and throw my blanket over me. Now, when you talk about The Exorcist, it's a little different. But
I
you
had
know.
my worst Jason nightmares. And I think Jason was the only one that ever actually like gave me actual nightmares because of that damn video game, the NES game. So I had purple Jason nightmares before I'd seen any of the movies. And I think part of it, me wanting to see the movies, was to kind of slay that demon because I was tired of purple Jason showing up and trying to give me the old 8-bit machete.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. The first time I watched Halloween, I remember I couldn't sleep. Like I mean, that shook me. But I never had a nightmare from it. It wasn't a residual problem. It was just that night I remember being at a sleepover being like, nope, not going to happen. Not sleeping tonight.
You're not getting me. Well, that because of the voyeurism. Like, nobody wants to be watched.
Well,
and that whole movie is about being followed and watched.
And we also accidentally, on purpose, rented a Jess Franco slasher movie, which I didn't know who Jess Franco was then, and neither of you probably know him now, and that might be for the better. I love Jess Franco now, but man, I was not ready for that. Not a bit. So it's okay, though. I didn't totally spend the next, 30 years of my life watching these movies religiously and starting a podcast about them. It turned out fine.
Well, you're talking to somebody who was 13 and, went out trick-or-treating with a 14-inch butcher knife, so...
You add an inch every time we talk about that knife. I kind of get it.
Was it 12? Okay. Hey, I have knife envy.
I mean, shoot, you go outside with a 15-inch blade and things are going to happen.
It's right.
Tomorrow it'll be 16.
Was it? Is that a real knife or is it just the lighting and the angle?
Oh, man.
It can be as big as I want it in my own head.
So, guys, as you know, during this fall break, we've been kind of playing with the format a little bit. We're going to do something a little different with this episode for 2 reasons. One, instead of waiting a week between viewings, we're actually having you watch part 6 tomorrow because Tommy Jason needs you right now. By the way, Tommy Jason sounds
and
like...
I need Tommy Jason right now.
It sounds like a trailer trash.
Sounds like a clothing line.
Like a hyphenated
Tommy
first
Jason.
name. Like, I imagine that like Junior, for all we know, his actual name was Tommy Jason Smith Jr., Yeah. Tommy Jason,
get off that slide.
Tommy Jason, get off. Put that down.
Put that knife down, Tommy Jason.
Next dog I get, I'm naming it Tommy Jason.
Tommy
Sorry,
Jason.
dear. That's happening.
Put the dog down, Tommy Jason.
Damn it, Tommy Jason. How many times I tell you, Tommy Jason, don't be chewing on my records.
Don't be drinking that beer. That's my beer.
So not only are we going to have George watch another Jason movie tomorrow, and we're going to talk about it again. And I can't wait because part 6 is a movie that we're going to talk about, and that's as much as I can say about it. But before we did this episode, and actually before George even watched part 5, I had him watch a Dario Argento movie. Now, George, you told me you finished the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Travis, did you ever finish Phenomena?
Took me a week, but yes.
Okay, so you saw the last half hour, which
Yes, I did.
is the important part of that movie. The last half hour is why we watched that movie together, separately. Okay. So I got to give a little bit of background because none of our listeners... Well, okay, so Jake and Aaron, probably. But everybody else who listens to this show have not seen Phenomena. Maybe Jason. Anyway, here's the thing that here's my introductory background. This might actually shed some light for you guys as to what the hell I made you watch earlier this week. Dario Argento. We've talked about a lot because he's one of those progenitors of the slasher movie with his giallo hits, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, that we refer to a lot as pre-Bird and post-Bird movies. And then, of course, Deep Red, which George had seen a while ago because I made him, which, again, changed everything about what the Italians were doing with their own movies and also managed to influence Halloween quite a bit. So twice he's changed an industry that most people don't even know exists, which is your Italian 70s slashers, but not slashers, film industry. After Deep Red, Argento made 2 movies that actually made money in the States and had nothing to do with a fedora-wearing, unseen killer. One was called Suspiria, which was recently remade in the U.S. And then the second one was actually made in association with Fox. It was called Inferno, which was a direct sequel to Suspiria. Neither of those are slasher movies. They're like witches, covens, ancient mysticism mixed with blood and gore. And they're awesome, and the soundtracks are cool, and you should check them out.
I think Suspiria is like on the top 10 greatest horror movies of all time, isn't it?
It's so good, man. And if you can see it live once COVID's over with the band scoring it live in the room, holy moly. Like, it's really good. Although the time I went, half or more of the audience was high as a kite, and so they were laughing at stuff that's not funny. And I was just like, oh, this audience is really high, and I'm just here for the bass part. Like, okay, whatever. Anyway, not everyone takes these movies as seriously as I do, and I get it. But I also don't. Like, come on, guys, step it up. Anyway, so the thing about Argento after Inferno is everybody thought he was going to make the third piece of a trilogy, right? You did first ever weird witches movie, and then a direct sequel, which he'd never done before. So everybody was just like, oh yeah, he's going to do a third one. And then he announced he was doing a movie called Tenebrae. Now, Tenebrae is my favorite Argento movie, and we'll cover it someday. But know this. Based on the name alone, people assumed it was part 3 of a trilogy, and instead it was a slasher-inspired, straight-up old-fashioned giallo. And it's amazing, because right away, you can see the influence of Tom Savini and Friday the 13th on this old formula, which originally inspired Friday the 13th. So if you're tracking me here, the Italians did it first, the Americans did it more efficiently, and now the Italians are copying the Americans who are copying the Italians. So the snake is eating its own tail.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like it.
part 4 comes out from the Friday the 13th series. And then Phenomena comes out. Now, Phenomena is kind of insane, as you might have noticed, because he's taking the giallo formula, but really he's taking the slasher formula, which is similar to the giallo formula. Like, he's co-opting the American ideas from the Friday the 13th movies and their copycats, but he's bringing in some of this weird, like, mystical nonsense from the Suspiria type stuff. So he's making a whole new thing, which is like a magic nature giallo slasher. Like, Phenomena's insane because all of its parts are insane, and it's mixed up in a vat of insane with a big old insane stick, and then it's thrown at the screen insanely.
But in its core, it's kind of traditional. I mean, the woman, there's nothing mystical about her. I mean, I hear you.
You mean the one that talks to
saying.
bugs and controls bugs?
No, I'm talking about the
He's talking about Pam.
The woman. I guess she was the killer.
He's talking about Pamela Voorhees.
Oh, okay.
The Pamela Voorhees.
The Pamela Voorhees.
The mom
A Phenomena.
that takes her home.
Daria Nicolodi,
Yeah.
the wife at the time
She was a bit
of the director, the mother of Asia Argento, who is famous now in the U.S. for, among other things, destroying Harvey Weinstein.
Okay.
That's his daughter, and her mother is the Pam Voorhees from this movie.
Gotcha.
But isn't it crazy that the Italian version of the Friday the 13th formula would actually be so similar in its final execution to the original Friday the 13th? The snake eats its tail.
Is that crazy?
It's crazy, man. Like, it's a movie.
It's not crazy at all.
It's a movie about... Let me just, for our listeners, just a quick summary of this movie you probably shouldn't bother watching because it's too goofy.
Yeah.
Skip to the last half hour. The last half hour is insanely cool.
And when you get to the last half hour, skip that too.
Jennifer Connelly. Well, did you watch it in the English dub, or did I make you read the movie, Travis?
No, I did not read this movie. There was some Italian in there towards the end where they were yelling at each other, but it was definitely English dubbed.
So, for our listeners who haven't seen this movie, Jennifer Connelly, yes, that Jennifer Connelly, can communicate with bugs with her mind. Donald Pleasance, yes, that Donald Pleasance is confined to a wheelchair and has a helper chimp. who
Who
helps
collects
him
knives?
who helps him be a more successful entomologist. So he studies the bugs that she can communicate with. It gives him a connection, man. And then Daria Nicolodi, who's in so many of these movies and is so great in everything, is essentially a Pam Voorhees who has a baby Jason who's, 6 years old?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
But, like, super deformed.
The fuck was
More
that?
so than any Jason Voorhees you've seen before.
It looked like a woodchuck.
There's a shot in this movie where he is running on a dock, holding a spear, chasing after Jennifer Connelly. It is genuinely frightening. It's like the only scary part of the whole movie. But just the disparity, the juxtaposition, if you will, of a 3'6" kid with a mutant face holding a spear that's got to be 6 feet long and running angrily. That's pretty scary,
Razor-sharp
man.
teeth.
That's a good shot. Also, the vat of maggots and skulls.
The vat. Yes,
is
that was
amazing.
the worst part. Definitely.
That was cool.
That was Jennifer
the-
Connelly in a vat full of... Like,
Well, it
you can
was
see why she
corn
doesn't
syrup.
talk about this one in interviews very much.
How old was she when she made this?
16-ish.
16. Okay.
That was cool, and what I took from it, at least the last half hour, was that it put a little different spin on Pam and Jason and their relationship, because in the first one, Pam is kind of, I guess, avenging her son right after he drowns, and in Phenomena, the son is there, and the son is obviously something wrong with him physically and mentally because he's killing people with a spear, and she's trying to protect him. He's a good boy. Like, it was almost like
It's kind of King Kong-ish too. Like she's bringing sacrifices to that child, and the man chained to the wall, and then the vat full of body parts, and like
I didn't see that.
What is
Yeah.
it that she's doing? She's trying to save her own hide by bringing, that's what I was thinking. Like, is she sacrificing people to keep him happy so he doesn't turn on her? Like, I wasn't really sure what the guy chained to the wall was, so I'm just like, I'm trying.
I don't know, but it showed a relationship between what a relationship might have looked like between Pam Voorhees and her son Jason
Before he died. Right.
Yeah.
I kind of got that.
And this Jason is actually a pretty good swimmer, it turns out.
Well, see, that's why I thought you had us watch it, because there is a lot of imagery that is borrowed in the next movie that we watch. So, I was getting very familiar visuals from the ending of this movie.
I would say that the aesthetic of Phenomena, not just the ending, but definitely the ending, the aesthetic, generally, the color palette of Phenomena informs what they're going to do with Tommy Jason. And I'm excited for George to get to watch it. So I'm glad you watched it first, George, because you're going to see color usage. You know, part 5 is just green as all get out, like a sickly green that maybe an amateur porn director might use if he were given the Friday the 13th franchise for a minute.
He was.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Asking for a friend.
So to recover from that, as a producer, you're probably looking around going, okay, what works? What is cool? What is edgy? What is the whirlpool of our time, right? If you're going to pull that trick again. And I think they looked right at Phenomena and went, well, those motherfuckers stole our formula. Well, we're stealing their aesthetic. And I think you're going to see that in part 6 tomorrow. Let's just watch it now. Let's just keep going. I'm excited for part 6.
Well, it's already tomorrow here.
It is tomorrow.
Well, there you go.
in
What? You
Jersey.
don't have to work tomorrow. Just call in. You've got a case of the Jasons.
I got a little Voorhees. I feel it.
I'm very happy, George, that you figured out that she was the Mrs. Voorhees. Because I've shown that movie to people before, and they just don't catch it. They get so flabbergasted by the
Visuals.
the
of that
visuals.
pool.
Yeah, just the whole. Because the thing about Argento, when he gets off the rails, it's not about narrative. It's about feeling. It's about aesthetic. It's about visuals. It's about putting you in a nightmare that you may not have had yet, but it feels like a nightmare. And Suspiria does that. Inferno has very little narrative, to where it's 50-50 whether I show it to somebody and they love it more than anything they've ever seen before, or they can't stand it because it's so slow, because they're expecting character development and plot, and instead they're just getting like overwhelmed with these awesome lightings and visuals and kills, and so your mindset has to be such for this movie Phenomena that some of it's not going to make sense, but it's going to look cool the whole time, and then you get to the end and the ending is cool.
And he doubles down. Like the whole ending was about that being captured and in basically in solitary confinement, and no matter what she's doing, just like when the Pam character leaves the house, she flicks a switch and every window in the house gets like this steel barrier that comes down. So you're just thinking like, oh shit.
It's like the 89 Batmobile shield, just like shink.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, that's cool. And then the phone ends up going down the hole, and then you're like, and then as she goes down there, it's like the Alice in Wonderland going into the rabbit hole.
Yes, sir.
And then she ends down, like it's everything that continues is just more and more unexpected things. And then that pool, to me, that was the only thing that freaked me out, because even the creature boy was very 70s-ish and not well designed. I could see if that was done today, it would have been freakish.
Oh God!
But I just
thinking of that face with the CGI, like high quality mix of CGI and practical, that would be horrifying.
It just wasn't realistic. Like to me, it should have been more like you said. It's a mutation.
I mean, we're talking about a movie where a chick talks to bugs, so
with her mind, man.
That stuff didn't even bother me. What bothered me was the chimp at the very end, just hacking.
That bothered me too.
And I'm like, what is that? And then the dad, losing top hat, like just
so
like what?
There's a shot where she's in the water and she's kind of swimming toward camera. And if you detach yourself from the insanity you've just seen and you aren't worried about what's to come, and you just focus on the imagery of her in the water swimming toward camera with fire, it is such a beautiful shot. Yeah. It's one of his best shots of his entire career, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it because the movie is so bonkers. I think people just like either love it or hate it and leave it at that. But the way he puts together that shot and the time he took to set those reflections just right in the frame, I mean, to a moving target who's swimming through it's just, guys, that's some top tier Argento imagery. Now, the movie itself doesn't hold a candle to Tenebrae. Someday I'm going to get you guys to watch that, and it's going to blow your minds, man.
Dude, I'll watch that whenever you want me to.
Yes.
Like, doesn't need to be like...
Don't even need to do an episode on it.
Yeah,
George just wants to watch it.
I'll just watch it.
I just like to say it.
Tenebrae.
I'm naming my next kid Tenebrae.
If you have
that's your other dog.
Not that I listen to the theme song like daily on my Amazon Alexa, but you have to ask for Tenebra by Goblin to get your Amazon Echo to play it.
Gotcha.
Tenebra by Goblin.
Yo, how about the music in Phenomena?
It's pretty rocking, man.
That was different.
Some heavy metal stuff, and still some
I
Goblin.
guess that was Iron Maiden, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was like classic Iron Maiden. I thought that was a little out of place.
I thought it was awesome.
I think it would have been better if it was explained. Like when she flicks that switch, maybe there's speakers that are facing downstairs as like to explain why she's just blaring heavy metal.
I didn't think that there was actual heavy metal. I just thought that's what's going.
Cool.
That's what's going on in the killer's brain right now.
See, I would have been cool, almost like a Buffalo Bill captive in the basement, play loud music, which is actually done in silence.
Buffalo Bill?
Or should I play music really loud?
No, I don't.
So
I don't. Technically, I don't know who Buffalo Bill is.
You don't?
Technically,
Season 2.
Sure you do.
Season 2. Season 2.
I haven't seen it.
Season 2.
No, you already said you did.
Season 2.
We'll have to edit that out, but you've already said you saw it. But we were going to watch it anyway. And talk about
I
it.
said I've seen. I know of it. I haven't seen it.
All right, cut all this out.
It pulls the mask up from its chin, or else it gets the hose again.
Gets the hose again.
I haven't seen it.
But yeah, that in that movie, in many movies, they play that music for like it's part of the movie. It's not just the soundtrack. So I think that would have been cool. to show her reacting to the music being loud, and because no one really wants to listen to Iron Maiden at 16 years old who's held captive. Like, it's not like something she's gonna do.
I don't
So
know.
she should have been reacting to that loud music.
I just thought that type of music playing while
Was
there's
cool.
a chase going on, or like whatever's happening, which is like high intensity. It was like, whoa, the music matches the intensity of the scene. Yeah.
Well, is what you're describing, Travis, is would be considered like diegetic music. That's the term. So you get diegetic music that's actually part of the setting. So if she
Right.
were to go and turn up a stereo, it would be diegetic. But non-diegetic or super diegetic, however you want to put it, refers to stuff that's like for the audience to understand, you know? Like a score in a movie. You don't like the Joker's kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody is hearing that on source speakers. So it is
Right.
non-diegetic or super diegetic. But if the Joker were to walk in and like reach into his pocket and pull out his iPhone and then click off the button and the music stopped, you'd be like,
Right.
oh, that was in the room the whole time. And
Right.
people do that in movies. You'll see it thrown around where you think it's score, but then it ends up actually it was in the room the whole time. Or they'll mix bits of score with music in the room and they interact just, you know, for the hell of it. It's a lot of just directors
So it's
showing
like
off.
Type 2 diegetic.
Diegetic.
Diegetic. I got the diegetic.
He has diabetes.
I have the diabetes. Diabetes.
diabetes.
Yeah, this movie I thought was type A diabetes, but it's type B.
So good. Well, we'll talk about Phenomena a little bit more after you've seen part 6.
All right.
But there's one thing that it doesn't have any bearing on part 6, so I just wanted to tell you guys this now because it's so amazing. And I don't know another filmmaker that does this. And if there are other ones, I want to know who they are and what they've made so I can watch their stuff too. Check this out. Did you notice how sparse and strange the actual setting of Phenomena was? Not a lot of folks. The only males you see are old men or those 2 German soldiers.
Uh-huh.
It was taking place where? In Switzerland?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when he made this movie, to himself, he looked in the mirror and said, Dario, this movie's going to take place in an alternate history where the Germans won World War II and we're living in a post-fascist Middle Europe under the German Reich. And so all the men of military age are in the military. All the women are separated and at their different schools, and all the old men are the only men around. Now, here's the thing. What does that actually impact as far as the movie goes? Very, very little. Except for the attitude and the aesthetic as the story unfolds. But you never have to know that to enjoy the movie or hate the movie. You know.
Right.
But it's a really interesting, little tidbit of where he's coming from when he writes that movie that explains why these little quirky things are the way they are. And it unites those quirky things into one general idea. Even if you don't know what that idea is, all the pieces of this movie kind of fit together. There's not a point where you're just like, oh, wait, hold on. Billy just pulled up to the diner. Where'd this diner come from? I thought we were at Pinehurst. You know?
Yeah.
That part 5 fails at that. But Phenomena succeeds at creating this cohesive universe, whether or not you understand what the universe is about or what's happening outside the walls of your movie. But now knowing that, it all kind of fits.
Yeah.
Argento's the shit, man. So good. Even when he's crazy.
I was not thinking that when I was watching it.
Well, this is not the movie
But I don't
to
have the
start with.
background.
You've got to
Right.
see Deep Red first. You've got to see Bird, and you got to see Tenebrae. And once you've seen those, and maybe Suspiria, you can start to piece together what this guy's up to, where he is strong, and then the stuff he falls short on. It's just like, yeah, but if he doesn't do the good stuff, you got to do the good. He's good. Argento is special.
He gets a T-shirt.
Oh man, if he'd wear my T-shirt,
Definitely.
I would be so happy. All right. Thanks for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at RemedialFilmPod. You can find us at Facebook.com/RemedialFilmPod. You can even email us at RemedialFilmPod@gmail.com. We'll be back here soon with Friday the 13th, Part 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. Just kidding. We'll see you back here soon.